Omega.
Yeah.
Omega was out for 9 months. You know how they brought him back? They introduced him. They introduced him for a six-way. For a six-way. That's how they brought the guy back.
Get your pellet guns out, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Wrestling Outlaws. There it is. There it is. I am the Dr. Chris Featherstone. I am here with two of my most esteemed colleagues. One is a WWE Hall of Famer. One is a former WWE head writer. The other one's another former WWE head writer for SmackDown.
I was never WCW champion, though.
And the other one is a former WCW World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, that's where the race kind of levels out, and he kind of crosses the finish line.
He crosses the finish line.
And look, I take the L. I got no problem with
that.
Yes, indeed. You became world champ because Goldberg speared you through the cage, right?
I became world champ because Goldberg killed me.
Because he killed you.
Killed me.
I don't think he killed me. I don't think he.
Yes, the helmet. The helmet
doesn't work.
It was supposed to help you, but it probably didn't with that.
There was, barricades. The steel barricades, Brian, all day long. Bro, I had a concussion at the time. So all day long, I'm saying, Bill, you've got to put me between the barricades. You'll kill me. I'm concussed, bro.
Yeah.
No problem. Bro, drills me through the cage, back of my head, smack into the back. Come on, bro. Like, really?
Was that kind of like an initiation type of deal to you, Vince? Like,
absolutely was, bro.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of initiation, I'm a big thing. A lot of my clients and a lot of my friends, I do this thing where I do like the most non-segued segues, and I think it's just I love it. I'll say, speaking of giving a concussion. Hey, so about solar
panels.
Right. Speaking of concussion, about those Bob Geigels, go check this guy out on his podcast.
Love it.
Let's travel down memory lane, fellas. 25 years of Kane's debut. He debuted at Bad Blood, if I'm not mistaken. It's gotta be Kane, right? So the question is, I'll start with Vince, because this was during Vince's era as a booker, definitely during Brian's era as a worker. Was this the greatest debut in WWE history, Vince Russo?
Wow, bro.
Other than Vic Venom.
It could have been, because, man, I'm a firm believer in setting the table.
Yeah.
Brian, they did something on the AEW. When I say setting the table, Brian knows what I'm talking about. Austin's hurt. We know Austin. We know the date Austin's coming back. So you want to set that table and set that stage for him where that glass breaks and the place explodes. Brian, what's his Omega?
Yeah.
Omega was out for 9 months. You know how they brought him back? They introduced him. For a six-way. For a six-way. That's how they brought the guy back.
That's crazy.
Ridiculous.
So let me slip this note real quick and have.
Oh my God! But so the way the table was set, the way we told the story of the brother, and you anticipated and everybody was just waiting for when is he going to show up?
Yeah.
So I'm sure, bro, there are other stories that were done as well, but I really think that was memorable.
Personally, I was a huge fan of Undertaker versus Undertaker at SummerSlam '94. I was, just because if you think about it, like, as a fan at that time, I was a teenager. And I was watching that, and I remember the Royal Rumble when the Undertaker got jumped, because at that point, '94, he was still just impenetrable. You know what I mean? Like he was just, there's no way anybody could ever beat the Undertaker, right? And so I remember he got mobbed at that casket match, and at the Royal Rumble of that year, and then he went into the casket, and then they did the whole deal when it's dark. They showed him on the Tron, and then I heard Marty Jannetty was the guy who actually rose up. Because remember when Taker rose up, and I heard it was Jannetty was the one who did that. But so he rose up. So that was in January, and then there was the Nielsen, right? Like he was the one they brought him in, and there was like Undertaker sightings, and Paul Bear was like, well, here's the Undertaker, and I think Primetime Brian Lee was the one who was the doppelganger. And so they really brought that in. Like, what are you talking about? You saw the Undertaker. Here's the Undertaker right here. It's what there was going on. I think DiBiase, I think he was the one who brought it in.
I'll never forget what was amazing about that, Brian. I'll never forget watching this. Bro, Lawler sat with Brian Lee every time for hours and drew the identical tag.
Really?
For hours, bro. It was unbelievable what he did.
That's incredible.
Very nice. Yeah. So DiBiase brings in the fake one and say, he's here. I bought him, right? And so, I forgot what's the naked guy, Nielsen, right? And
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen, yeah. So he was like, there's Undertaker sightings, and he spent, months and months doing that. And all of a sudden we saw the Undertaker. He's going to be here at SummerSlam. What a way to set the table. And then DiBiase comes out with Primetime Brian Lee as the doppelganger, and all of a sudden
the Underfaker.
The Underfaker, yeah. So all of a sudden the lights go off, and I remember watching that. I'm like, come on now, is this really the Undertaker? Like, come on, is there really a real Undertaker? All of a sudden he comes out in the purple. That's the first time he debuted the purple. He debuted a different variation of the song that night too, and the face to face, and it was people was like, oh well, I couldn't stand that match. To me, that's the reason why, as a fan, like catch can, long drawn out wrestling matches, they have their space, like Steamboat and Savage at WrestleMania 3. But when it comes to the big deal, Undertaker versus Undertaker, to me is like that story. That's 7 months of build right there. Of there's a fake one, there's a real one. He's coming to SummerSlam. That popped me.
It's about the spectacle.
It is.
Not the work rate.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the same thing when the first time, because I'm in the process of watching that now. When the first time Kane and Taker wrestled, remember, Brian, the story was, I will not fight my brother.
Yep.
I will. And they goaded him for months, bro.
Yes, until he would punch his brother.
Yeah, see, I mean, to me, that's what's missing.
Hey, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Kane is the best. I've been sitting here thinking while we were talking about the best debut. So Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't debut. He became Stone Cold. The Rock didn't debut. You know what I mean?
I like Jericho's a lot. What do you think Jericho compares to Kane?
Well, I just don't think it was like a character. I love the build. I love the table being set and the build to bring Jericho in. I did. I thought it was great, and it got a ton of outside exposure. But Kane was the character who debuted and is still to this day signing autographs that say Kane. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It feels big.
Yeah, I agree. I think he definitely goes among the best because there was so much storyline being drawn. Because it was the same way. It was like, hey, there's because I remember he was feuding against Foley, you know what I mean, in '96, and it was the Boiler Room Brawl, and then all of a sudden it was like one of those like, hey, there's some, Paul Bear when he was a heel at the time because he turned on Taker, I believe, at that Boiler Room Brawl. I think it was SummerSlam in '96, and so basically he was like, well, guess what, Taker? He drew another layer. There's a brother. You thought that your brother's going to be, thought he was gone. He's alive. You know what I mean? And so it's like, what is this?
That's storytelling, man.
Yes, that's storytelling, man.
Brian, remember that time? Remember that time they brought back Ric Flair after an injury, and they just put him in a 6-man tag.
Brian,
they handed the announcer a note to announce.
I say this all the time, Brian, as I'm going back and watching these Attitude Era shows, and bro, it doesn't get said enough, and I don't know why. Was there ever a better storyteller than Percy, bro? Oh,
no. Yeah.
Why that doesn't get said enough, bro?
Yeah. Well, look, I think the people that know, and it's just like it was just a given. But you forget that he had been in the business 30 years by the time he got there to WWE.
Man, what a storyteller!
And he managed Taker before, right? When he was Texas Red.
Yeah.
So he
Texas,
has that
when he was Percival Pringle. Yeah,
Percival Pringle. Yeah. Wasn't he the third? Wasn't he Percival?
He might have been the third.
Yeah,
of course he was.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Let's go. Oh, you didn't, bro. Is DX versus NWO happening? Not happening. The biggest missed opportunity in wrestling. Let's go to Mr. DX himself, the Road Dogg Brian James. What do you think? DX versus NWO. We saw y'all battle at WrestleMania 31 during Sting and Triple H's match, but could there have been something that came from that or before?
Yes, we actually, the Outsiders wrestled the Outlaws at the Blizzard Brawl in Wisconsin, many years ago, and we got a cease and desist because we were promoting it as such. The Outlaws versus the Outsiders. But so that match did happen. So,
it did happen.
No, I'm a big proponent of. Yeah, it would have been great if they were in their prime, we were in our prime before we disbanded and they added 75 members to their group. Like if it was, you know what I mean, 8-man tag, 4-man tag, mixed tag, whatever. That would have been awesome had we both, but it didn't work out. And so that's not, you know what I mean? Like people still want Sting and Undertaker, and it's like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that anymore. Like I imagine that match, and I imagine that match being great, but I don't want to imagine it how it would be right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Vince, what do you think? DX versus NWO.
You know, these guys, Brian. I mean, I can remember specifically when Scott and Kevin and Hulk. It was just the three of them.
Yeah.
And they were starting to kick our ass. And I remember, man, it was just Vince and I, and we were sitting in there in the living room, and Vince basically said, we have the younger version of that. We've got young stallions. We can make a younger version of that. And that's why I don't think DX really gets the credit they deserve, because the NWO was so hot with those three absolute legends in the business. And then you guys came along. I mean, Brian, let's face it, it could have been a fart in church.
Yeah.
Because if people were going to compare you to the NWO and you guys didn't live up to DX, bro, it would have sucked.
Yeah, it would have been vicious.
I think whether you guys realized it or not, there was a lot of pressure that you probably did not even realize because you were having a good time, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
Yeah, but Vince knew we had the younger talent, and we can do the same thing, and he was right.
Yeah,
he was right.
Yeah, he was right.
When we started kicking their butts in the radio.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of kicking butt, this guy has a kick butt podcast. Right here.
That was like a really good segue. I thought.
Thank you.
I feel like
speaking of really good segues, Michigan sucks. I'm a big Ohio State fan.
I love Ohio State too.
Thank you. You watch college football?
Yes, I do, but I don't like Michigan or Ohio State. I like the Georgia Bulldogs, and I like the Alabama Crimson Tide. And
How
so
can you
for
like
Georgia,
and
I can like both of them because I'm from Georgia, but I live right near Alabama, and everybody where I live is a Bama fan, and I've been here like 20 years now. So
gotcha. Well,
wait,
Georgia.
You asked a question about wrestling earlier, I think.
Yeah, forget that. So we were talking about the Georgia. I'm a college football mark, so I could talk college football all the time. But before we get to your podcast, I'm interested in Georgia won the college football national championship. Do they have a chance again this year?
Oh, I don't know. It had to be good for their recruiting. So I don't know the answer to that question. Like they were so good, it was uncharacteristic last year, and so I don't know that they have a chance again.
Yeah, Ohio State will win the national championship. So
this year,
yes, they will. Yes,
Okay.
yes, they will. That's my bold prediction, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
I heard you. I wanted you to say it again.
Yes, yes. For those in the back.
For the
ladies and
record,
gentlemen.
yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right, let them know about the You Didn't Know podcast.
No, you didn't know
Brian.
podcast. You can find everything that is Road Dogg at roaddoglinks.com. That's Road Dogg, 2 D's, 2 G's, links.com. The You Didn't Know podcast, you can find it on Spotify, on Apple, anywhere you find your favorite podcast. And you can listen to it. I don't know if I'm any good at podcasting.
Very nice.
Maybe.
Very nice. It's so I love that because who used to do like 360 bits like that? David Letterman. I used to watch David Letterman all the time, and he used to do like 360 bits. He would do a bit at like the top of the hour, and all of a sudden, just like 40 minutes later, he would go right back to the
bring
bit.
it back. Yeah, that's the old bringing her back.
I love it.
Comedy works that way.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Vince Russo, let them know about your channel attitude, my man.
That's it, man. Channelattitude.com. A bunch of people on there had a ball with Al Snow this morning. We had a lot of fun. Stevie Ray, Stevie Richards, Disco, a lot of people on there. Check it out. Channelattitude.com.
Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Vince Russo, Road Dogg Brian James. I'm Dr. Chris. This is the Wrestling Outlaws. Have a good night, everybody. Solo.